What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dean, aka the Blue Crusader, and today what we're going to be doing is I'm playing some GTA 5 and I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to win more races in GTA 5. Now, a lot of people play GTA Online still. It's still one of the highest grossing games. They make so much money off GTA Online, so I know there's still a lot of people who want to do races, and quite a few of my friends are actually really good at races, and a lot of us wanted to know what the top tips were to actually win more races, because we're all pretty competitive, we're all highly competitive, and a lot of the times I'd usually come second or third. There's a lot of times where I wouldn't win, and there's a lot of times at the very start where I'd come last, so I needed to know some of these tips on how to win more races. So I'm going to be going through the tips. Currently I am playing single player mode, but I will go through some of the tips and let you know. So basically the first tip is when there's a countdown at the start of the race where it goes 3, 2, 1. A lot of people know this, but the first tip is to basically, when it gets to the point where it says go after the 3, 2, 1 countdown, you need to press W to accelerate on this point, because if you accelerate at the exact time that it tells you to go, it'll give you an absolutely massive speed boost. I mean, this is a pretty obvious thing, most people know about this, but this is the first step. If you don't get the speed boost at the start, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage, especially if it's a non-contact race where you can't actually hit people off the track. You're going to have such a severely lower chance of actually winning the race if you don't get the speed boost at the start. So the next one is when you're riding in tunnels. So if you're in a tube in a race, you can use the tube to your advantage in many different ways that people don't know about. So for a start, in a tube, what you can do is you can go left to right, and you can ride on the walls of the tubes. Instead of going on the flat face on the bottom, if you ride on the actual walls of the tubes, you'll get a lot more momentum and speed than the people who just drive flat. One thing you can do is, the next tip is, when you're in these tubes, you want to zigzag. So right now I'm on the road. Zigzagging is basically just going left to right in a Z shape, obviously. So you want to zigzag and go left to right, because this obviously gives you more momentum as well from your speed. And if you actually go around the tube, so if you actually ride on the walls of the tube in kind of like a 360-degree circle, so going completely around and onto the ceiling, it'll give you a lot more speed as well. And one thing about large jumps in GTA is basically when you go up a jump, I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a demonstration here. If we actually go up a jump, we can press shift to tilt our car down, or we can press control to tilt it backwards. And what this does is it gives us greater control while we actually have airtime while we're in midair. So when someone goes up an absolutely huge jump in GTA, for an example, what they'll do is they'll go straight up the jump and they'll just stay in the air. They'll go at full speed and they'll just jump straight up. So I'm going to find a jump and kind of give you an example of this. So I'm just going to jump off the top of this mountain just to kind of give you an idea of what I mean. So I'm just going to drive it to the top. So basically what they'll do is they'll drive really fast, and when the jump comes up, they'll gather the entire momentum and they'll go up the jump and they'll stay in the air like this. But what the best thing is to do is, if you go up a really high ramp, which I can't show you right now, you'll be in the air for a long time. And a lot of people think, oh, okay, if I'm going up there at the max speed, being in the air is not such a bad thing. But the problem is when you're up in the air, it actually gives you more airtime, obviously, which is a bad thing, because it means people who are on the road can actually catch up with you because you move faster on the road than in the air. So what you want to do before you go up a jump, for an example, is you want to brake, and then you want to tip your car and go down the jump. So let's say I was going up here, instead of going up max speed, I'd slow down and then tip my car and land it, and then I'd do a skid and keep driving. Because if someone went up there at max speed, they'd be in the air and they'd easily be behind me, and then I can overtake them now that I'm on the road. Basically it works the same way in a race. Obviously if you have a huge ramp, it'll be a lot easier to demonstrate, because I'm using the natural environment right now in single player to actually show you this. But you want to brake before you jump, because it'll slow down a lot of momentum and it'll give you more time on the track to catch up and actually overtake people who are in the air. So that's a good tip. The next one is Slipstream. So this is not to be confused with the Slipstream game mode, because there's actually a mode in GTA which is a race game mode called Slipstreams, and basically all of the players ride on bikes and they all next to each other, and each of them gives each other more speed the closer you are. So it's kind of hard to explain, but slipstreams in actual races work the same. So if someone overtakes you and you're behind them in close proximity, they can actually give you a bit of boost, so it gives you more of a chance in the race. So it's kind of like a fail-safe. So if you start losing a race and you're behind someone, you can actually overtake them by them giving you more speed. So it's a funny thing, but if slipstreams are enabled in the race settings, this can actually mean you can catch up and potentially actually win the race and regain favour. So that's another tip to actually utilise. Another one is actually really obvious. The next one is just avoiding contact, because when you're in the races, you're going to have a lot of people that obviously won't be so skilled in the race, or they're just pranking and having fun, and most of the time those people will try and use the contact rule of the race to actually get the upper hand. A lot of people don't know the technical side and the tips on how to actually win a race, so they'll actually try and play dirty, which is something I personally did at the start, because it is quite fun, admittedly, but a lot of people won't be trying to improve the drive and they won't be utilising any of these tips. They'll just be doing contact rules, so they'll go straight into you like I did with that bike, and it'll either slow you down at the best if it clips you, or it'll make you go off road or fall off your bike or crash your car, for an example. So you want to avoid players at the start. If you get your speed boost at the start or a slipstream, you want to use it to your advantage and try and get as far away from other cars as possible, especially if there's a gap in the road or if you're going up a ramp where you could very easily get hit off road. For an example, that guy was doing the same thing that players do in races. He was going for the contact. So try and avoid people in contact so they don't hit you off, because it will basically add a few seconds onto your track time for the time spent respawning and getting back on your feet. And the last tip is actually paying attention to checkpoints. So this is pretty obvious. Everyone has to pay attention to the checkpoints in a race because it tells them where the next point is. They want to know where the next location is they've got to drive to. But one thing about checkpoints and why you should really pay attention and focus to them is they actually have an arrow on them which shows which direction you're going, but you can use the arrow by looking at it to kind of figure out the direction you need to drive in, also the angle your car needs to be in for that turn. So you can use these arrows to kind of figure out more easily which direction on your angle you need to be on your car. So basically, if there was an arrow going left here, I'd be able to spin my car in the right direction if I was going at a fast pace. This makes it a lot easier to slow down your speed or increase your speed, or basically turn the corner maybe a second or two earlier and keep the momentum when you're driving, and basically allows you to predict the corners, in other words, because if you turn one corner too abruptly or too early or too late, it could cause a crash, or you could slow down too much and lose your place in the race. So use the arrows to your advantage, pay attention to all the checkpoints, and utilise all of those tips in a race. What I'm going to do is I'm going to link a really useful video in the description that shows demonstrations of each and every tip which I've showed in this video. So when I made this tip video and aligned some of the points, I wanted to try and find some demonstrations of everything I outlined in the video. So I did a search after I made the list for this video, and I found one that basically shows most of these fundamentals and a few more that I didn't think of, and how they work in each races. So it'll show a video example of how it shaves off lap time and how all of the tips work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the link in the description below so you can check out that video as well. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope these GTA 5 racing tips helped you guys out. If they were useful, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Turn on the notifications by clicking the bell, and leave a comment below if these tips were useful or they made you better at racing. Now, I wouldn't pay attention to the background footage in this video because I've been commentating whilst playing the game, so my driving is going to be absolutely abysmal, which is pretty funny because I'm talking about a driving video. But subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more GTA videos, because I'm going to be bringing some videos on some of the coolest mods and tips for GTA Online very soon. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.